Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to our 7th episode of the Honey Bunches of Goats podcast. I'm your man Kyle Ayala.
We got Raul here.
Got KJ. What up?
What up, guys?
What it do?
Hey, so we're about 7 episodes in. It's been a lot of fun, been a lot of good times so far, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed listening to us over the past couple of months. We have a lot of news on deck, actually, in regards to the sports world, considering that coronavirus has really put a serious damper on, just sports in general. Number one we're going to talk about is, of course, the Canelo news.
Yes, that's right.
Canelito.
Canelo is suing not only Golden Boy, but he's also suing DAZN for a breach of contract.
Yes, he's suing this, and I'm taking him to court in Los Angeles, in the federal court. And this has to do mainly for the fact that, like you said, it was a alleged breach of contract, basically, quote unquote. And this is all Canelo's words. I'm the pound for pound number one in the world. I'm not scared of any opponent in the ring. I'm not going to let failures of my broadcaster or promoters keep me out of the ring.
Ooh.
I filed the lawsuit so I can get back to boxing and give my fans the show they deserve.
All right. So we got some drama going on Golden Boy's side. It's funny with, Top Rank getting a fight schedule going on, and, they've had fights since like beginning of summer. You also have PBC not only putting on decent fights, I think the last one being the one with Yordenis Ugas, which we're going to talk about later on, but their fall schedule looks fire, PBC. And then now we go to DAZN, and almost like there's been no schedule. It's been super quiet. Everyone in the boxing world has been waiting for DAZN to release their schedule, like a fighting schedule. But I mean, obviously with complications with coronavirus, worldwide pandemic, DAZN has really been lagging behind significantly in regards to, I guess, getting their affairs in order in regards to the fights. We know that they paid $1 billion to the Bundesliga, right? That's the German Premier League, right? And they're obviously facing some type of, financial issues, because now there's no gate attendance for live sporting events. People aren't spending as much money as they used to. There's a multitude of factors in addition to just, coronavirus, the fear of coronavirus. They want Canelo to take a pay cut, and Canelo says that he's willing to take a pay cut to a certain extent, and then, to fight other guys as well. There seems to be a disconnect with DAZN and Canelo's management team in regards to what constitutes a premier fight, because according to the details, which aren't, according to the contract, weren't fully specified, DAZN has a contract for 2 fights every year for Canelo, Cinco de Mayo and usually September, right?
Yeah, so they fall around Cinco de Mayo and then Independence Day, which falls in September.
Okay. So, and they reserved for a premier opponent. Now, that's where there's a disconnect, because Canelo's team has offered guys like Billy Joe Saunders, who else? Callum Smith. I think there's another name under that. And DAZN seems to think that if, other than Triple G, I think some of the opponents they proposed as premier fighters was Jorge Masvidal, who's not a boxer.
No, not at all. That's a joke.
and I think Triple G was one of them. And then I think also one with another UFC fighter, like it was Conor McGregor, or was it was Nate Diaz or something like that. They offered guys like that, and it's like I can understand where a lot of people have certain hate for Canelo, and trust me, I'm one of them. But the disconnect between what constitutes a premier fighter under DAZN's contract with Canelo seems to be a really significant sticking point and a significant obstacle to get over, because I mean DAZN is very confusing in that with those opponents that supposedly they had on the list. But then again, they were also paying Canelo like $35 million to fight Rocky Fielding. Who else? I mean, Kovalev was pretty much the only premier guy Canelo has fought under the DAZN banner so far, right? Would you say so?
Yeah, I agree.
Because he fought Rocky Fielding. He fought who else did he fight while under DAZN?
Under the zone, the last one was Kovalev, Rocky. Triple G was before this, but I know for a fact that they signed Triple G in order for them to get a potential third match under the zone banner. But no, I don't think he has many fights. I know for the most part he still has a couple of fights under the zone contract. So yeah, COVID came in and just messed everything up for everybody, including this negotiation going on.
Yeah, he did. Oh yeah, he fought Danny Jacobs. I forgot about that.
Oh, that's right. Wow, no, that's a big name at the Garden. No. It was in Vegas.
Yeah. So those were his 4 fights. Those were his 3 fights so far under DAZN. First fight being with Rocky Fielding, and then it was Danny Jacobs, which was I mean, I don't know. You can argue as a premier opponent in terms of money, but definitely a premier opponent in the division. And then Kovalev still also a premier opponent, even though he's not what he once used to be. So there seems to be a lot of issues in regards to who does DAZN want Canelo to fight, and 2 of those 3 fights were good matchups, but does DAZN feel like they're getting the proper investment return? I mean, proper return for their investment. You can't. I think everyone can agree that Canelo kind of got a sweetheart deal. $350 million, right?
Wait, it was a 11-fight contract, right? $365 million.
Yeah. Which I think at that time made him one of the, if not the highest paid athlete.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, guys, let's just break this down. All credit to Canelo, because if you think about the face of boxing, he is the cash cow.
Yeah.
Once Mayweather retired, basically it was all him at that point.
Yeah.
And until this day, it pretty much is Canelo. But again, this is all pre-corona. Everybody in the league, I feel like, and whether it's basketball, football, they're eventually going to come down to cut salaries, getting some sort of...
That's a sort of issue, with money and stuff like that. Wow. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, but also another thing that I like to compare is the UFC. February, around that month, if I'm not mistaken, that's when they had their first UFC fights, if not maybe towards May. And that's one thing I don't understand about DAZN, take a page out of their book and maybe start taking some sort of risk, some sort of decision making. Maybe follow a few of their protocols. But yeah, for the most part, UFC has been putting out fights, been pretty good about it too. So I don't know what DAZN is being too quiet about.
Yeah, there's, Top Rank is with ESPN and PBC is with Fox/Showtime. And, it seems like they have a fruitful partnership. Each promoter has a fruitful partnership with a proven TV network, right? And then you have Golden Boy, who partners up with a new streaming service in DAZN. So a completely new platform for boxing, that's never been seen before. And I think now you're starting to see the inexperience and the lack of depth that DAZN has in their television production model. They have, obviously it's a new company, so they have a lot of things to iron out, absolutely. But the inexperience shines when you see that Top Rank is already put in cards since the beginning of summer. That you see in PBC putting cards together and then releasing a fire schedule for the fall. and trying to circumvent all these issues dealing with Corona. And then you have DAZN, who's kind of like in a holding pattern with Golden Boy. Ryan Garcia wants to fight, Canelo wants to fight, and Triple G wants to fight. These guys all want to fight, and they all have contracts, right? So DAZN has to pay out. But the problem is, I think DAZN is kind of stuck on how do we monetize each fight to the best of ability, and because they're overthinking that, they just haven't released a schedule. So you see Canelo, who wants to fight, obviously who wants to get paid and wants to fight, and then you have DAZN wanting him to take a little bit more of a cut so they can put in a Canelo fight. Now, you can argue, you can make an argument for both sides, but I would say that with DAZN, like you have all these fighters under your stable. You got to start putting out cards. I mean, are you going to take a financial loss? Yeah, but everyone is taking a financial loss. But you have to like get the ball rolling in regards to getting your fight, getting fights out there, and satisfying also the fighters under your name. Unfortunately, now you have your biggest star suing you, in court because a disconnect in how they want to approach setting up the fights, or who do they want to set up Canelo with, and this is just very clear of how, I guess, Top Rank and ESPN and PBC with Fox/Showtime, they partnered up with proven television commodities. And now with DAZN being a new streaming service based off the internet, you can see that there's a lack of depth in regards to leadership. And who's running DAZN? Like I know you have
Exactly.
like, you could say like Eddie Hearn is kind of like the face of DAZN, but like
who's Eddie Hearn?
Yeah,
Eddie-
so Eddie Hearn,
Matchroom
he's
Boxing.
Matchroom Boxing. Yeah, he's basically
He's
the
a promoter.
equivalent to what Oscar
he's
De
a
La Hoya
promoter.
is
Yeah.
with
Oh,
Golden
okay.
Boy.
or Bob Arum,
Yeah.
and you can argue that he's the face of DAZN, but he's not the face of DAZN. He's the face of Matchroom Boxing. He's just partnered up with DAZN. And if anything, you could argue that Eddie Hearn is the one who's pushing DAZN's schedule, because he's the one who had the Povetkin White. He's
That's
the one
right.
who set up, he's setting up all these fights in the UK. So, he's the one who's kind of like putting his foot forward and saying like, all right, I'm going to set up this fight. I'm going to set up this fight. And DAZN is like, okay, yeah, sure. But there's no like but it seems to be like there's a lack of leadership at DAZN to say, hey guys, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And if we're going to have to bite the bullet on this, we're going to have to bite the bullet on this.
That's right. If you're talking about consistency, they haven't been on a consistent pace compared
Eddie
to Top
Hearn
Rank.
has, but not DAZN.
Yep,
That's
that's
for
right.
sure.
And equivalent to Golden Boy, if I could recall, their last fight was probably Virgil Ortiz, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that was what, August?
Beginning of August, I
Yeah.
believe.
And look at us now. We're in the middle, going to the middle of September.
Yeah.
One of the biggest months for boxing for Golden Boy, which is majority of Mexican fighters stable.
And on top of that, this is boxing had the lead. UFC and boxing had the lead on setting up sporting events, because the NBA went through a pause, and then MLB went through a pause going through their spring training, and NFL was off in the off season. So combat sports really had a time to shine, and UFC has. We can argue UFC has been very successful. I'm not saying maybe
Super successful.
maybe not like fully financially successful, but definitely successful nevertheless. With boxing, because there's so many promoters and stream and television providers. Television networks that hold the contracts to certain fighters, and there's been a holdup. Like boxing's been slow to get on the ball in regards to airing live sporting events.
So I got a question, guys, to wrap this topic off. What do you think will be the outcome with this Canelo suing Golden Boy and DAZN?
DAZN is gonna eventually have to just acquiesce to Canelo. I think that Canelo just pulled a power move, not necessarily to get any particular decision in court, more for DAZN to settle out of court. But I think he puts the pressure on DAZN, for his demands. I think eventually DAZN gives him what he wants.
I agree. I think Canelo's is
They can't lose Canelo
no,
either.
no. So Canelo is big of a name to do these kind of power plays.
Yeah.
Like I said again, he is the cash cow of the company. So whatever he says must go. You know, it's like having your own company and having your best employee that brings out the most numbers to your company and results. You don't want to lose that person. So you're going to try to bend the rules for him. And that's exactly what I think and will happen with Golden Boy and DAZN.
Yeah. What do you think Canelo's relationship with Golden Boy is going to be?
Well, that's a little difficult and crazy because there's been a lot of issues, like you said earlier, with Ryan Garcia having issue with Oscar De La Hoya, him getting into a Twitter feud, Oscar not wanting to say much. But like you said, Kyle, earlier in the segment, there's been a lot of tension in that staple of Golden Boy.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. So I was just gonna ask, like, so hold on. Golden Boy is not connected to DAZN.
They are. They're partnered up with DAZN, but Golden Boy is the promoter, and DAZN is the television service. So, like, with Top Rank is the promoter, so they promote the fighters, and ESPN is the television provider. So, kind of like how UFC partnered up with ESPN to air their fights, so they work closely together. That's how it works. But the only difference is in boxing, there's not, in the UFC, one promotion holds all these fighters, and in MMA, one promotion holds all these fighters. There's multiple promotions, but the premier promoter is UFC, right? But in boxing, there's, all the great fighters are split between 3 major promoters, and then there's smaller promoters that promote like up and comers as well. So it's a lot more complicated to set up fights, as opposed to in the UFC.
And that's a very good question too, because not a lot of people know the specific details about these promotions, let alone these streaming services that are all new to us.
Shit, we barely know ourselves, and we follow boxing all the time. Like, we barely know what the fine print is.
No, so my question was, like, let's say Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions wanted to, like, show a fight. It wouldn't necessarily be on DAZN, right? He could do it through ESPN.
Well, it depends on which fighter they have contracted under.
Gotcha.
So each, like, especially the bigger name fighters, have an individual contract with DAZN to air their fights exclusively for DAZN.
And for the viewers at home that also have the same question, I guess also the best way I could put this to, it's like a scenario with Netflix. If Marvel, like they did in the past, want to put out TV like series on Netflix, they pay Netflix to add on a Daredevil, to add on a Luke Cage. Yeah. But just as a recent, Marvel just launched their own streaming service.
Yeah, since they're owned by Disney.
Correct. So now they took everything from Netflix.
All the intellectual property.
Correct.
Marvel,
and now they're just only pursuing Disney Plus.
That's
which
crazy.
is their own personal streaming service. Yeah. And we're living in a new era of television in a way. So this is a perfect example of sporting events have come to and television as well.
Yeah, absolutely. On the next topic, we're actually going to go cover, Terrance Crawford may finally have a fight. Crawford has been on the back burner since his fight with Mean Machine.
Yes.
Kaviaskis
at the Garden.
Was that January or February? I think it was February, right?
Yes, I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, like Canelo, Crawford has been in a holding pattern as well. Waiting for a fight. The main problem with him is that he is signed with Top Rank, and Top Rank doesn't really have any major welterweight contenders in their stable. All the welterweight contenders at this moment in time are all or mostly like signed or have PBC. Like temporary deals with PBC. So Crawford's been kind of like sitting, on the sidelines waiting for a fight, and he may finally have one in Kel Brook from the UK, former 147 champion, former 154 and 160 fighter. Where he basically went from one of the top fighters at 147 after he beat Sean Porter a couple years ago. Dared to be great, fought Triple G and got knocked out, even though he fought pretty well in the fight. take some time off from a broken orbital bone to heal up. Fights Errol Spence in the UK, might add, and fights pretty well as well. Fights pretty well in that fight, but then loses, gets knocked out, breaks the other eye socket that he has. So, ever since that fight against Errol Spence, he kind of fell out of the contender picture at 147. But for the past couple of years, he's said, hey, I could still make 147. I could still be a welterweight contender. He's a big guy for 147, but his thing is that, hey, I can make 147. I want these big fights. For years, his name has been linked with Amir Khan, but they never seem to get on the same page. So now we're gonna have Kel Brook come and fight, Terrance Crawford. And me personally, I think it's a fantastic matchup.
Hell yeah!
A lot of people a lot of casual boxing fans may not know Kel Brook and may just think, okay, yeah, Terrance Crawford is gonna run through him, but Kel Brook has never been run through. I mean, he's been knocked out, but primarily from TKOs. Not so much as like he just got, he got knocked out. He was just, he had injury, TKOs, issues with his eye. And, I thought he dominated Sean Porter, who, maybe not dominated, but clearly won against Sean Porter. And Sean Porter is not an easy fight for anybody. So, he has the skills, right-handed fighter, very sharp 1-2, big. And, he uses distance very well. I think it's a fantastic fight. What about you, Raul?
I agree. Kel Brook, he has a very long jab. It tends to discomfort any fighter that goes up against him.
Yeah.
We've seen this in the past. Like you said about Errol Spence, he had difficulty in the first 5 rounds to try to find angles, try to find any loopholes around Kel Brook.
After those first maybe 7 rounds, I had Kel Brook winning comfortably, and after the first 6-7 rounds, I'm not saying he swept all the rounds, but I had him winning comfortably. And then you saw Errol Spence eventually come and dominate him towards the end of the fight. But yeah, great long jab, very sharp. His defense is underrated. I think the key to his defense, not necessarily his head movement, but his ability to control distance, ability to whenever he gets uncomfortable, he automatically clinches. So he knows when to clinch. Something a little bit frustrating to watch him, but a very sharp fighter nevertheless.
Very, very nice style boxing, I gotta say he has. And if you think about it, all those opponents that you mentioned that he lost to, which first Errol Spence, second Triple G, right?
Yeah, those are only 2 losses. Yeah.
Exactly. And the one thing they both have in common is power. And the real question here is we could ask ourselves is Terrance Crawford, does he have the power 147 to discomfort Kel Brook?
A lot of people would say yes, but then again, we've never really seen him fight a real good 147 fighter with a chin. He fought Amir Khan, but we all know Amir Khan has no chin. So, and then he fought Kavyauskas, who he knocked out, but Kavyauskas gave him a pretty decent scrap in the beginning of the fight. He actually knocked him down. It just wasn't called, but he knocked down Terrance Crawford. And then I think before that, he fought Benavidez. Did he fight Benavidez before Kavyauskas? I don't remember exactly, but I know they fought Benavidez. And Benavidez is a solid welterweight, but definitely not an elite welterweight, So, I mean, hey, at the end of the day, who do you have winning, Raul?
That's a tough prediction, but I will probably go with the fan favorite, Terrance Crawford. Now, I would think it will go to split decision. I don't see him knocking out Kel Brook. I don't know if he has technically the power to do so. We've seen Kel Brook get knocked out, but we're talking about heavy hitters, power punchers, Triple G, Errol Spence. These are, in a way, boogeymans in their time.
He fought Triple G a couple years ago before Triple G slowed down.
And this is him, Kel Brook, going up in weight, and that first opponent was Triple G, guys. So it just goes to show you how
he has
much
balls. At the end of the day, he has balls. He's not going to fight scared. So, me personally, I have Terrance Crawford winning, but I would not be surprised if Kel Brook won. I think Kel Brook he's a B plus welterweight with A potential. It's just that, you know, he hasn't fought all that much in the past couple of years, especially when he was healing from those orbital bone fractures. But I have Terrance Crawford. Terrance Crawford, I think, has the power to hurt Kel Brook. But like I said, we haven't really seen Terrance Crawford fight like a legit borderline elite 147 fighter. And Kel Brook is close to that. Not exactly that, but close to that. And it would be a good litmus test for Terrance Crawford to see how he figures in the welterweight picture without actually fighting the welterweights on the PBC side, right? So I think that, you know, I think Kel Brook is going to give him a lot of fits with distance. I think eventually Crawford, you know, starts reading the distance well and starts, you know, unloading to the body. But then again, I also seen Terrance Crawford get hit by Kavyaskis. So do I think Kel Brook can hit him? Absolutely. So now we're just gonna see who has the mettle to go for the fight, you know, go for the win. And we all know Terrance Crawford has dog in him. So I think that's gonna be the X factor, the fact that Terrance Crawford has that dog in him, that he's gonna go eventually, you know, take over the fight. But I say it's like 55% chance that Terrance Crawford wins. I'm actually, you know, I'm giving pretty good odds to Kel Brook to win. I just think that he's just a legit big 147 fighter. Even though he doesn't have power, like really good power, he has decent power, but not really good power. So let's see if he can get, you know, Terrance Crawford off of him. Moving on to the next section, we have a couple of fight results from this past weekend that we have to go over. You know that, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, the first one is Jamel Herring against Oquendo.
Oh yeah, that was a ugly fight.
yeah. It was super awkward to try to score and just watch it. Just very uncomfortable in a way.
I had Jamel Herring winning the fight easily, but it just didn't look like he was winning the rounds, but it was not like, wow. It was just like, yeah, he did enough to win. He did enough to win.
And even if he did do enough to win, it wasn't much. Oquendo was just more of the bully. Yeah, people could say he fought dirty, which he did. Coming in with his head and just giving him that cut towards the 4th, 5th round.
Him and Jeff Horn have a lot in common, apparently.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're the champion and I'm coming in as an opponent to potentially win that, I'm going to bully my ass into the ring. I don't care. I'm going to make your life miserable. And as a champion, you should already know your adjustments. Even before that, you should already make your studies about your opponent. And this is Oquendo. This is his style. People know his style from before. They know that he comes in to fight a dirty fight. He comes in with his head a lot. Yeah. So maybe this would have been a good thing to work in the gym, adjust your boxing style, and maybe adapt.
Yeah, we saw that Herring had troubles with distance and trying to basically find a range comfortable for him, because it seemed like all night he was uncomfortable because of Oquendo's style. You know, Jamel Herring, when he's fighting at his best, he's just a guy who can control the ring and, you know, control the ring with his work rate, you know, and control the ring with his ring generalship. But I guess Oquendo, you know, maybe I saw something in training camp where he's just like, you know what, I'm just going to go inside whatever way I can and just like, you know, make it difficult for him. And, you know, it's funny because this fight was set up for Jamel Herring to look good. So that it would lead up to the Carl Frampton fight that he's been pining for the past year. And he didn't look good. The Frampton fight is still most likely happening, but I guess considering it was on television and that, you know, he's the 130 champion, you know, hey, you know, here's your time to shine, so that way we can bring up some hype for the Carl Frampton fight. And he definitely did not look good. I won't go. And then, you know, at the end of the fight is also controversial as well. He got headbutted and then was complaining to the ref that he couldn't see. And then, you know, it went straight. And because it was an intentional foul, the technical decision, the decision was win by disqualification, because the infraction happened because of an intentional foul.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he was already winning on the scorecards. So it's fine, but a lot of people were questioning his heart, like hey, you just gave up, blah blah blah. Now, Jamel Herring is an American Marine, and I'm pretty sure he's been through way more tougher situations. The optics, though, in the fight didn't look good. It kind of looked like he was looking for a way out. And then he was criticized by Tim Bradley and Andre Ward. Do I think, was it justified? No, I don't think it was justified. Optics-wise, it didn't look good. But, after the fight, you find out that he had had lacerations by his eye, and he had a scratched retina.
Oh wow!
So he did have issues with his vision. He did have issues with his with that cut, and he did have issues with that headbutt. So it goes to show you that and a lot of people were giving him a lot of shit on Twitter about him quitting in the middle of a fight. He didn't look good, and then he tried to find a way out. And like I said, optics wise, you can make an argument for that. But we don't know. We weren't in his position. None of us were in his position. Maybe, and he did end up having a scratched retina. So, it's possible that he lost vision in his eye during that fight. So we can't, criticize him too much, especially with the results of his medical analysis.
I agree. To most everything you just said, Kyle. I clearly remember when he was in the corners with his coaches, he specifically said, I cannot see. And this is what led his decision to stop the fight. I think what Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley were just arguing about and actually mentioning is that when Herring was actually throwing uppercuts and actually throwing inside the fight, inside the ring, in the middle, he was actually doing pretty good. He was showing effectiveness. But that's the thing, though. He wasn't doing much of it. He was just doing it per round, maybe 2-3 times. I feel like as a champion, he could have done more. He could have maybe listened to what his coach was saying, maybe do a little bit more angles. I don't know, and this is what the frustration that Timothy Bradley and Andre Ward were.
It was, at the end of the day, it was a lethargic performance. Had he looked good up until, say the same thing happened, except he looked good, right? Instead of looking bad in that fight, I think that more people would have been, understandable to his cause, especially the way things happened. But I guess because he didn't look good, that people saw it as a way of him getting out of the fight, which is, wasn't the case. He's gonna move on to Carl Frampton, and I'm even though Carl Frampton is a little bit long in tooth now, or he's towards the opposite side of his career. I still think Frampton, with his skill set, would beat Herring, even though Herring has a lot of physical advantages.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. We'll
he
see
did have a good knockdown though.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Timothy Bradley specifically said is, listen, if you're fighting Oquendo and Oquendo's bullying you like this and giving you this comfort, imagine what Carl Frampton would do to you.
Carl Frampton is very good on the inside. Yeah. He's a very good inside fighter.
Take this as a perfect example. Try to adjust to this inside game that Oquendo has and work around it.
Yeah. He needed to be more busy through Oquendo's aggression. And I don't think he wasn't making Oquendo pay for his overly aggressive tactics.
Definitely, he has so many receipts, and when I say receipts, he was getting hit, but he didn't hit back. He paid too much respect to Oquendo, which
Frampton is not. Frampton is a lot more skillful on the inside, especially with his hooks to the body. Frampton is experienced too, and what beats Frampton is usually work rate. If you keep a high work rate, then you're gonna chances are that you'll have a good chance against Frampton. But, Herring's work rate was, lackluster in this past fight against somebody who's overly aggressive. So, we'll see how it goes with Frampton, if anything. The other fight we wanted to cover was the Yordenis Ugas fight. He was fighting, I believe his name is Abel Ramos. And we want to talk about bad card. Okay, the right man won. Okay, first of all, the right man won, thank God. But good God, those cards. Let me just put it down to you. Yordenis Ugas is essentially, you can make an argument, is the boogeyman of the 147 division because he's very skilled, but he doesn't have a name. He doesn't have the popularity. So he's signed under PBC, and he took a fight against Abel Ramos. Yordenis Ugas is a typical Cuban fighter. He defected from Cuba, came here. Typical Cuban fighter, very skilled, right-handed fighter, very skilled. Pretty aggressive for a Cuban fighter because Cuban fighters tend to be a little bit more on the, tactical side. And in this particular fight, Ugas had a typical Ugas night. Outworked the guy, beautiful combinations, landing inside, outside. For a guy with really long arms, he seems to be very comfortable medium and close distance. I thought that I'm going to go stay short of saying dominated the fight, but you can argue he won every round or maybe lost like 1 or 2 rounds simply because he was doing so well. And, I mean, although he got hurt a couple of times, not drastically hurt, but, you saw the visible, wiggle in his body. I think once early in the fight and once in the last round. But outside of that, he was beating the guy very easily. Then you go to the scorecards. 2 judges scored about 115, 113 for Ugas, which means that Ugas only won 8 rounds. Okay? Well, no, I'm sorry. No, not even 7 rounds. Ugas only won 7 rounds, 7-5. And then Lou Moret had it 117, 111 for Ramos. Most boxing journalists said that even the 115, 113 cards for Ugas was bad. But to have it 117, 111 for Ramos, and especially seeing the fight that I saw, good God.
It's crazy.
It's shit like this that really gives boxing a bad name. It's like, what is going on with these scorecards? I think at the end of the day, we're going to have to come to a point in the unified rules of boxing. There has to be at least like a 4th judge or a 3rd judge who is scoring the fight from from a television production standpoint, like scoring the fight from the monitors and stuff like that. Because some of these judges who are scoring the fight ringside, what the fuck are they seeing? Because whatever they're seeing from their point of view angle is not what the rest of the world is seeing. Not in every fight, but and it seems to be like the past. I mean, boxing's always been filled with terrible decisions. It's one of the black eyes of the sport. But recently, especially what we've been talking about, the Romero Marinez fight. Mm-hmm. I think also there was another fight we were talking about, but
it seems to be a pattern going on.
Yeah, I mean,
bad decisions.
And boxing's always
been like this. Yeah,
absolutely.
But you would think, clean the sport up in a way. We've been seeing a constant bad decision and robbery throughout the years, and this goes on from God knows how long. But come on, man.
I don't know. This is just really disheartening. I mean, the fight was okay, decent, okay scrap. It was a decent scrap, I will say. But Ugas, he's kind of a name. Ramos is not a name, and you can mess up people's careers with bad decisions. Look at Marinez Romero. Marinez would have been the interim 130 champ right now.
This would have been his
35 or 30. It was 35, I think. Lightweight, right? I think it was lightweight. Yeah, 135. So he could have been the interim champion right now instead of Rolly Romero. Yeah. But now, because Rolly Romero is a bigger name than Marinez, you give one guy unwarranted elevation, and then you give the other guy who earned the win having to go back to obscurity and try to build his name when he could have had that already, deservedly so. But now you don't have that. So I guess, but in this situation with Ugas is a proven name looking for a big fight. Say if he did lose this fight, even though everyone says that he won the fight, it would have been like, well, he lost his last fight. And the fact that he's a fighter that people have maybe not avoid, but just prefer not to fight over like bigger names, then that makes his career harder. You know, and he's already older. He's an older fighter. So he doesn't have that much time in the game to correct the mistakes of judges. And this is the thing that can be disheartening. You know, there's a lot of people, a lot of boxers littered throughout history of boxing that would have broke their, you know, they would have had their breakout had the decision went their way, but it didn't.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's one of the unfortunate things about boxing.
It's crazy to think that on paper, it could really affect your stock.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a tainted decision, it could eventually lower your stock in the division, which on performance-wise, it may not be the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's, like you said, to your words, it's very disheartening.
Wait,
Yeah.
so who do you guys think won that fight?
Ugas clearly won it.
Oh, okay.
And he won, and technically he won the fight, but just the fact of how bad the scorecards were, again, it seems to be always an issue in boxing. You know, well, I mean, as boxing fans, we're already used to it. Me and Raul are very accustomed to this.
It feels like every month there's at least one bad decision from a judge, or if not, a robbery in a fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, besides that, let's look at some positive things in boxing. We could finally see, what's his name? Guy who always barks a lot, but Gary Russell Jr.
Yeah,
We might finally see him fight because Mr. Fights once a year or every 2 years has rumors that him and Devin Haney might get it on. Devin Haney, up and coming name in boxing at was it 130?
130.
130. And you have Gary Russell Jr.
A veteran,
a veteran fighter who, at featherweight that has been around for a while and seems to fight nobody other than Lomachenko. Everyone says Gary Russell is probably one of the most talented boxers in boxing right now. But we've been saying that for what like 7-8 years now, and he still hasn't fought anybody. So
yeah, I mean, credit to him. He does have nice, quick boxing skills.
Probably fastest hands in boxing.
Yes, let's not try to take that away from him. And he did have another win he had a win against Jojo Diaz.
Yeah. He did. Yeah, he did beat Jojo Diaz, which, I mean,
it was
Jojo's a B fighter.
Yeah.
Jojo's a B fighter. Even though he beat Tevin Farmer and he looked pretty good. And Jojo Diaz is not like a nobody. He's definitely a very good fighter.
He's a name.
He wiped out Jojo Diaz, but it just goes to show you how someone is so talented and yet still can't put it together to fight big names. You've been at 126 for a while, and barely anyone knows Gary Russell Jr. And people, and if he's like top 5 most talented boxers in boxing, then he should be someone who's known, especially if he's already in his 30s. He's in his 30s already. So his career is floundering. I'm guessing that these rumors are a way to get his name back up because he was barking for a fight with Terrance Crawford, which is fucking dumb. Not only because he's a 126 champion, but Terrance Crawford is at 147. What incentive is there to fight Gary Russell Jr.?
I think the backstory to that, they have some sort of beef going on for years
whatever,
already.
man. Gary Russell Jr. talks too much, and so does Terrance Crawford too. So they talk a lot.
It's a mixture of bad blood already.
Well, I mean, like Terrance Crawford talks, but at least he earned it. He backs up and he earned it. Gary Russell Jr. he talks. And it's like he still talks about the Lomachenko fight, and he's like I deserve a rematch. I'm like, yo, he got I won't say he got wiped out, but he got close to he got dominated for certain rounds, and then he said he was sick or some shit like that. But dude, that fight was in 2013. You had plenty of years to build up your career, and you're still talking about that fight, and you fight once a year. Like, how are you supposed to maintain a level of popularity when your activity level doesn't warrant it, right? So, a fight with Devin Haney would be nice. They're both very athletic, very good fighters. I think that it would be a great scrap. I don't think it's going to happen simply because Gary Russell Jr. is at the point of his career where he can't fight guys without a name. Like, Devin Haney's a name, but he's an up-and-comer. He's not an established name. So there's no incentive for him to fight Devin Haney. But if it happens, I think it would be a great scrap. Devin Haney's power and boxing, precise ability to land punches, and then you have Gary Russell Jr.'s super fast hands, very overall talented, super athletic fighter. I think it would be a great matchup. I would have, for me, that would be a toss-up. I think Devin Haney probably wins it, takes the edge on it. But what about you? What do you think, Raul?
Yeah, I think first off, Devin Haney, it's time for him to take an opponent like Gary Russell Jr.
It was time for him like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, but I guess for the benefit of argument, sometimes you don't want to rush your prospect into a fight that could be dangerous to Gary Russell Jr. Maybe maybe similar discussions could be said about Jojo Diaz.
Yeah,
it was too soon for him to go up against Gary Russell Jr. We all know Gary is a very fast, tricky fighter. Makes things very complicated, but I think David Haney is definitely ready for that challenge, and it could be his stepping stone for other good fights to come for him.
Yeah.
I think he edges it out too. Maybe age plays into factor. Maybe inactiveness plays into factor with Gary. Like you said, he only fights one fight per year, if not maybe 2 years. But I'm looking forward to it. I want to see both of them get scrapped.
Hopefully it actually happens. But it's
so who do you guys got? You said you got Haney.
Yeah.
Who do you got, Kyle?
I said it was a toss-up.
What?
I said it was a toss-up.
Oh, so you can't. So either way,
yeah,
whoever wins what?
Like, yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I probably Haney. I would say would probably end up
Leaning
taking
towards
it.
Haney.
Yeah. So we are known as a boxing podcast, but we cover all types of sports, and we are gonna do our 2020 NFL preview. Football's back, bitch.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
The Super Bowl ended in February, just prior to the pandemic, breaking out in America. So the NFL has had their entire offseason under the siege of Corona. The draft happened, training camp happened. It seems that I was actually pretty surprised that at this point that they haven't had more COVID positive cases in the NFL, like how the MLB season first started. I'm actually really surprised that a lot of teams finished training camp without like a breakout. And now we're like the week before opening day. Some cities have permitted fans in attendance, limited fans in attendance.
Wow, I didn't
Some
know that.
cities have not. LA is one of them. Miami, I believe, is having 20% capacity.
Wow.
Yeah, so the NFL is was in this weird position, but in a way kind of lucky because they didn't really get their season schedule messed up. Like, the NBA had, hey, it's September and we're in the NBA playoffs, not even in the conference finals, when at the end of this month, usually the NBA season starts. So you're going to have the NBA overlapping. You're going to have the NBA season kind of like overlapping when it should have started. MLB, again, abbreviated season that they're having. They are, they're in the middle of a 60-game season. And we'll see how the playoffs go in that regard. But the NFL, they had their entire offseason during the pandemic. They seem to be on track for opening day. We have there's a lot of great storylines, as with every beginning to an NFL season. What would you say is the thing? We're gonna start with this. Let's go by divisions, guys. Okay, you're gonna tell me who do you have winning the division? Okay, amongst these teams, we're gonna go down from the AFC all the way down to the. We're gonna start with the AFC East, which is home of my beloved Miami Dolphins and Raul's piece of shit Jets.
Oh, low blow. Ouch.
So, okay, guys, we have New England, Buffalo, the Jets, and Miami Dolphins in the AFC East. Shotgun, off the top of your head, who do you have winning the division?
I'm gonna be biased. I'm gonna go with the Jets.
All right, you can suck my dick.
Man, low blows this episode for me, guys.
What about you?
I'm not gonna lie, man. Looking at it, I'm taking New England. As much as I hate New England, but Tom Brady's not there, so it's kind of a new look to the team. So
They do have
it's a
Cam.
new atmosphere. You know what I mean?
I will say this: it is going to be extremely interesting to see Cam and Belichick, which is like a pairing of QB and coach, as weird as it gets.
Yeah.
In terms of,
But he quoted that it was a match made in heaven.
yeah, you know,
So
maybe
let's see.
they're working well together. Bill Belichick has always had this thing about taking reclamation projects and making the best out of it. Corey Dillon comes to mind. Rodney Harrison,
running back.
Yeah, Corey Dillon.
Shit, he brought it back, and
Yeah.
he was cooking for New England while he was there.
So they have a squad that's stripped of a lot of parts. But you know, Belichick always seems to make it work. So you know what, I can see it coming. I'm gonna go with
We know who you got. Kyle.
The
we
Dolphins.
know
realistically. I see
the
us-
mermaids.
Listen, realistically, suck my dick. They got jokes today on my Dolphins.
go.
son.
The mermaids.
But
Okay.
realistically, they're probably gonna go 8-8. But I have Ryan Fitzpatrick, dark horse contender to make the Pro Bowl. I'm not gonna say he's gonna be.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. They're saying Tua's looking
What?
sharp in training camp.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the offensive line was terrible last year, but eventually Fitzpatrick was able to make it work, and he actually played pretty well. Like
Fitzpatrick is ass.
after he got benched, and came back, he actually played pretty well. I'm not gonna say he's gonna light the world on fire, but he might have an outside chance of having, like, you remember Derek Anderson of the 2007 Cleveland Browns,
No.
Braylon Edwards,
No.
Derek Anderson.
No, we don't remember.
So Derek Anderson made the Pro Bowl.
That's not happening with Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
It might happen.
Nope,
It might
I do
happen.
not see that happening.
If we see
Sorry about that.
If
Kyle.
we see Fitz magic from the first season he had with Tampa, then maybe.
I think it's gonna be more fun to watch him interviews than actually seeing him in the field. So
Hey man, we have weapons. We have Preston Williams, Devontae Parker. You know, we have pretty.
Yeah,
decent-
there are a lot of weapons on that team.
I think for the Miami Dolphins, you know, invest in your future and use your draft pick, your quarterback that you drafted, and maybe
Use him. You're right.
I think
Use
that
him.
by the end of the year,
Why
towards
start Fitzpatrick? I'm sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off.
No,
No, why
but-
start Fitzpatrick if you have a early round draft pick that supposed to turn people's heads?
So,
So
you
get him
either
going.
have Aaron Rodgers who sits for his first 3 years, all right, or you have a Kyler Murray who starts immediately. But on the flip
There
side,
you go.
there's always examples that waiting can hurt, right, or starting right away can hurt. So I mean, you have a lot of examples of first round draft picks who start right away and they don't pan out.
Sam Darnold.
So, the jury's still out on Darnold. Everyone, it seems like analysts love Darnold, but then if you look at his stats with, like, not last year, but the year before, Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold, they had essentially the same stats that year that Josh Rosen and Darnold both started. So they had similar stats. But we'll see where it goes. So we have Jets. Your prediction is
Yes,
Jets.
and
I got New England.
And if you give me my reasons why I think the Jets, they build up the offensive line specifically for Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
They
Mekhi Becton.
they definitely boosted up that locker room.
Offensive line.
They drafted Denzel Mims, another weapon for him to use.
I don't trust the Jets' track record on drafting wide receiver.
Hey, a lot of people will have to say the same thing with quarterbacks. Most people don't trust USC quarterbacks as well, but for the most part, it looks like Sam Darnold is, not the best so far, especially after a season without a very weak offensive line giving him troubles just to pass the ball. I think this year is going to
calls were awful.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
if you
still
love football, man, and you see how Darnold and his throwing motion, you can appreciate that his game. You know what I mean?
And also their offensive playbook, it looks like for the first part of the season for the Jets, it's surrounded and it was all around Le'Veon Bell. Everything was all Le'Veon Bell that first part of the season. Now with weapons provided for Sam Darnold, they don't have to rely too much on Le'Veon Bell. So I think it'll be a more productive offensive season for the Jets.
I don't. I think they're gonna do pretty trash, but we'll see how it goes.
And also,
I'm getting ganged up over here.
I also
guys.
zoned out. Whenever I hear Jets, I zone out.
All right, guys, let's move on to the AFC North.
All right, we have Baltimore. We have Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincy.
Oof.
Okay, who's winning the division?
I got
Shotgun.
quick question before we start that. Big Ben, is he coming back? Is he healthy?
Yeah, he's healthy. He's ready to go.
Oh, you know who I got?
Steelers.
Man,
Nah, he's
come
gonna go
on,
for
man.
the Browns.
Let's go, baby.
Any
Let's go,
team that
Odell.
has Odell
Let's go,
Beckham,
Odell.
Cade is gonna be rooting for them.
Let's go, Baker.
Yeah.
Let's go, Jarvis. Let's go, defensive side. Let's do it.
I would
I got the Browns.
I would shit on the Browns, but I don't want Odell Beckham Jr. to get excited. If anybody's seen Twitter,
shots.
just Google Odell Beckham Jr. and Dookie or Doodoo.
Wait, please elaborate. I'm out of the picture here. I
Long
don't
story
know.
short, ratchet ass chick who was Chief Keef's baby mom basically said
What?
that Odell Beckham Jr. likes to get shitted on,
What?
like Dookie on
Wow.
sexually.
What?
So
Stop it.
What a way to open up this conversation with Chief Keep, baby mama, and shit.
yeah,
These are the things and words that I would never picture that would be relatable to
Yeah,
Odell Beckham.
let me tell you something. All this sums up is that women ain't shit and men ain't shit. Except when Odell gets shitted on, that's different. But that just goes to show you where this world is going. So that's just how it is. It is what it is. But
Reigning MVP.
yeah, let's see if he has well, it's not his sophomore season. Let's see if he has a third season slump. His sophomore starting season. Let's see if there is a slump. But I think he's a fantastic player. But also showed a lot how the Titans dominated them in the was it the AFC Championship? No, the divisionals.
Divisionals,
In
yes,
divisionals,
correct.
yeah, he got dominated by Tennessee in the divisionals.
He
so
did.
who
He didn't play
knows-
very well.
Who knows if people are gonna take that take that game plan and then start using it against them?
Yep.
So we're gonna start seeing a significant increase in difficulty.
spies.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of and let's see how he responds. We'll see how he responds to that.
You know-
I'm gonna say Baltimore also wins that division as well.
Do they have any new weapons on that team other than Hollywood Brown, Mark Ingram? They add anybody new?
J.K. Dobbins. They added J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. I think in the second
draft?
round. Yeah, in the
Nice.
draft.
Okay.
So you'll see how it goes in that regard.
And what do you guys think about the Bengals and their new
Joe
quarterback?
Burrow. I was gonna talk.
I
to you
like
guys about that,
Joey Burrow, but there's no need to talk about Cincinnati. They're not doing shit.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna happen.
Well
with
said.
Cincinnati.
Well said.
We don't even have to talk about Cincinnati for the rest of the year, except for how if Joe Burrow gets
How they got the
seriously
number one
injured.
pick.
Yeah. AFC South. We have
AFC South.
Houston, Tennessee, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville.
Houston, Tennessee.
Who do you have winning? We all know it's not Jacksonville, but who do you have winning?
The Titans. I mean,
Yeah, it's
their
between Tennessee.
results and what they had last season going for them,
Yeah.
they have a pretty strong case this season to make.
And they just signed Jadeveon Clowney. So
Oh, they did.
So let's see. I mean, their defense is going to be stronger than last year. Hopefully, I mean on paper. So I'm gonna go with Houston, but I would not be surprised if either team like they're both the top teams in the AFC. So either team is gonna win the division,
I agree.
and the other team is gonna have like a better record than some other division winners. I can easily see a like 11-5 season. Both of them having 11-5 seasons, and both of them splitting their games and then coming down to some weird tiebreaker. I can see that. So I mean, okay. So I have Houston. Raul, you have
Titans.
What about you, Kizzy?
And I think I'm gonna slide with Deshaun Watson and the Titans.
I'm sorry.
I mean the Texans. I apologize. My bad. I meant the Texans. Houston. I'm
I was
taking
about to
Houston.
say that's news to Houston. All right. So now AFC West. I think this is going to be pretty easy. Kansas City, Denver, Oakland, and LA Chargers. I'm just going to go first. KC. There's really no need to elaborate.
No
KC,
debate.
we all know why. Defending champions, and they have a new
reigning MVP.
Yeah, and they have a new running back in Clyde Hilaire-Edwards from LSU.
From the draft.
A lot of people are saying he's a dark horse to be like the fantasy MVP this year. So that's going to be
Oh,
interesting. Very explosive runner out of LSU. So I have KC. What about you?
Taking KC.
KC?
Same.
KC,
Can't
that's
go
a
wrong with
sweep.
that.
They're the champs for a reason.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I mean, when you got, Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes.
Come on,
Yeah.
man.
MVP.
Okay.
Best player in the NFL.
NFC East, guys. Philly, Dallas, New York Giants, and the Washington Washington
Just
football
Washington.
team.
Washington.
They're just Washington.
For now.
Washington. They're just going to be called Washington.
I guess the real question here is, what should they call themselves?
The
The Wolves, the Rockets.
I mean, Redskin is a pretty, shitty name anyway.
yeah, I don't
but,
like it. Yeah,
But I mean, if they're gonna go for the whole like Native American warrior idea, they can always go with like the Red Hawks or Washington Warriors. The Red Hawks.
Wolves. That
Yeah.
sounds that.
Yeah, the
that
Wolves.
has a nice tone.
Yeah,
to
if
it.
they're trying to go for like a certain like Native American aesthetic with the name, then there's plenty of
Yeah, I
options.
think they should stick to that.
I think it's kind of stupid they didn't pick a name
Yeah.
for the season, because now you're gonna just be known as
The
the
Washington
Washington football team.
Nah, they'll figure it out.
They're gonna sound
Look-
like a fucking soccer team. The football team of Washington.
That sounds like if a dad that does not know anything about like football, hey, that team, the Washington team, no, the
Washington, whatever.
the Washington, the red color team.
Give it a trick question. Just be like, hey, what is the name of the Washington football team? And people are just gonna either be like, oh, I don't know. It's the Washington football team, or they're gonna be like, yeah, it's the Washington.
Yeah, so black, so bland.
Bland, yeah. All right, so whoa, who's gonna win?
Wow.
I have Dallas, even though I don't like Dallas. Fucking hate Dallas. I have Dallas winning, but watch, they're gonna lose the first game in the playoffs. I have them going 11-5.
Dallas.
Yeah. What about you? I mean, Carson Wentz is healthy, with Philly, but I also think Philly's had a lot of injuries to the offensive line. So
Yeah, you can't count on Carson Wentz
Yeah.
anymore in the playoffs. It's tough.
and not only that, but Carson Wentz seems to be a little snake bitten by injuries. So if his offensive line is kind of weak at this point, then it's going to be hard for him to finish the season, especially with him, already having a couple of like injuries in his young career.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you have, Gideon?
Damn.
Off the top of your head, you don't
Dallas.
think
Dallas.
What about you, Raul?
I'm gonna go a different way. I'll probably go with the Eagles.
Okay, all right. So you believe in Carson Wentz then?
Not necessarily. I think they drafted a quarterback too, right?
Yeah, they drafted Jalen Hurts.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's
They
right.
did, right?
Yeah.
I heard prior to drafting him, they said a lot of good things about him. And who knows? I mean,
I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but I can't see myself seeing him like better than Tyrod Taylor. And I like Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor is probably the safest quarterback, and he can run and he won't throw interceptions, but he's not going to win you a game with his arm.
No,
So
you need winners.
yeah, unless of course you're throwing a deep ball, then that's Taylor's number one weapon. Jalen Hurts on the other hand, he's a system quarterback who's going with with the Eagles. I think they can use him in some respects, but I won't put a lot of stock in it. So I'm gonna, like I said, I have Dallas. KJ has Dallas. Raul has
the Eagles. Philly.
NFC North: Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago, and Detroit.
That's a tough.
It's just
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one between Minnesota and Green Bay. I think that Aaron Rodgers has a bounce back year. I think he's going to have an MVP quality year because he's just going to try to prove so many people wrong, especially since Green Bay drafted Jordan Love instead of drafting him a fucking wide receiver. I think Green Bay wins the division on the strength of Aaron Rodgers' potential MVP season. What about you guys?
I agree. I mean, other than Minnesota, like all these other teams aren't, to me, as a playoff contenders.
I mean, Chicago. Well, I would have said Chicago has a chance, but they already They announced Mitch Trubisky as their starting quarterback, and yeah, they're not going nowhere.
I like Trubisky.
If Foles was gonna start, then I would have said they have like a dark horse contender chance to make the playoffs. But if Trubisky's starting, then no. I see them going fucking 5-11.
Wow.
So yeah, what about you, Raul?
The Packers, the
Packers?
Cheeseheads.
Yeah.
You can never count them
Yeah.
out.
You can't count them
Yeah,
out with
Aaron
Aaron
Rodgers.
Rodgers there.
Aaron Rodgers still can ball, so I think that
he
this
still gets busy.
this is gonna be Aaron Rodgers' last great season. This is gonna be his. This is gonna be his last great season. He's gonna keep on playing after this, and he's gonna play pretty well. But this is gonna be his last MVP.
Yeah, he's getting older now.
He's
not young
he's
anymore.
top 5 quarterback in the league. So
Yeah, just based on talent alone, even though he's much older. Okay, NFC South guys: New Orleans, Atlanta, Tampa Bay Brady's, the Tampa Bay Brady's,
That's his team right now.
or Carolina Panthers. Who do you guys having win that division? That's kind of tough, actually. The NFC South is always the most was always the most competitive division.
Very competitive.
Atlanta still has Matt Ryan, although I think they're trash. New
I'm
Orleans
not a
still has
fan.
Drew Brees, and they always play well in the regular season.
They
But let's
do.
see what happens in the playoffs. And Tampa Bay has Gronk and
Gronk
Brady,
and Brady.
and they
Who else?
they just added
they
a
added
running
Josh,
back.
They added Josh Rosen as a backup quarterback.
Trash. Who's the running back that they just recently picked off waivers?
Not
waivers,
They
but,
got Leonard
they got-
Fournette.
Mm-hmm.
They
Signed
got
Leonard
Leonard Fournette.
So I think they're making a run for this season.
Mhm.
It's all about, I guess, who do you have winning division is all about your level of belief in Tom Brady. I'm gonna say New Orleans wins the division, but I'm gonna say Tampa Bay either has the same record or a game worse, and they make it as a wild card. What about you guys?
I agree. Tampa is new quarterback, new players. I don't know if Tom Brady has much experience that he has in the league. I don't know the transition he's going to have with that new playbook, but I don't know.
Team, new environment.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But until then, I will have New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
Okay, what about
Yeah,
you?
I believe in Tom Brady that much that he can take this team to the next level, especially adding Gronk to the picture and to the equation. There's no question you can't go for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I Drew Brees has always been my favorite. Has been my favorite player in the NFL for a while. He had a little bit of controversy earlier this year, but I think he's learned from it and become a better person. And I'm pretty sure a lot of his teammates now corrected him in his errors. And I think New Orleans, this is gonna be their last season with Drew Brees. I think this is gonna be Drew Brees' last season. I think I don't think he's gonna win MVP, but I think that look for him to put up about 70%. And I think he's gonna top 35 touchdowns this year, and gonna stay under. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays under 6 interceptions this year. I think he's gonna just have a typical Drew Brees season. This is gonna be his last ride, and I think that they're primed to make a run. Do I think they're gonna win the Super Bowl? No, but I'll always be rooting for them. New Orleans is my second favorite team after Miami. Hot take, by the way, just a quick hot take before we move on to the last division. This will be Matt Ryan's last season in Atlanta.
Okay.
I think that I think he's already.
They need a change.
Yeah. he
No.
needs a
I mean,
change.
the contract wise, they can't. But I think they're gonna look for his replacement after this year. Like they're definitely gonna look for his replacement. I think he's already way past. I think he's past his prime. And then last season definitely showed that, even though their offensive line and their defense suffered a lot of injuries. So
Yeah, and Matt Ryan, he gave them everything he could possibly give an organization.
except the fucking Super Bowl. I hope Atlanta never wins a Super Bowl ever again, because they blew that fucking lead against the fucking Patriots. I will never forgive them.
Yeah, that
I
was
will
brutal.
never forgive
And what a
them for that.
game.
That was
what a
brutal.
Super Bowl.
So last division in our NFL preview, guys. NFC West. San Fran, Seattle, LA Rams, Arizona Cardinals. Go. Who do you have winning division?
I'm gonna lean towards the Seahawks, Seattle.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. What? Wait, you think that San Fran? Do you think San Fran's gonna make the playoffs, or you think they're gonna wild card it over?
No, you know what?
You think they're gonna have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover?
I think Seattle might edge it out to win that division. 49ers. I mean, credit to them last season. They did such a great job, but I don't know. For some reason, my gut's telling me the Seahawks.
Yeah. What about you, Gideon? Who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the Seahawks as well. They added Jamal Adams to their roster on the defensive side, so I feel like he's gonna be one of the biggest playmakers on that team defensively.
Yeah, they definitely got a bona fide defensive star. Somebody who you can argue is just as good as Earl Thomas in his prime. So
maybe better.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think Earl
Maybe
Thomas in
better.
his prime was fucking amazing. But my prediction, I have San Fran repeating as the division champs. However, I will say, do not be surprised if they get knocked out of the playoffs early. I don't think they're going to have the similar run in the playoffs like they had last year. I just think that their defense is going to be fire. Don't get me wrong. And their offense is going to be very effective with Kyle Shanahan running the show. I just think that with an extra year, seeing this setup with Garoppolo, Shanahan, and, seeing this defense as elite as they are, I think that people are just going to game plan for them a little bit better. I still think they're going to dominate the regular season, but like I said, don't be surprised if they get knocked out early as well in the playoffs. All right, so we're going to just let's get to our Super Bowl predictions to top this off, guys. Let's just go straight into it. Who do you have coming into the Super Bowl? Who do you have winning? KJ, you go first.
All right, so on the AFC, I got Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs repeating.
Okay.
On that side, on the NFC, let's see. It's tough. I'm going to go out on a limb, and let's say Seattle makes it.
Okay, so
in
yeah.
the NFC. So I got
KC versus
Seattle. KC versus Seattle.
And who wins that?
I say KC takes it all the way again.
And what score would you give?
The score, KC versus Seattle. Let's put it. I got 28. No, I got 30. 34 to 21.
34
KC
to 21.
taking it.
Okay.
34 to 21. KC taking it. And repeating their championship again.
What about you, Raul? Who do you have in the Super Bowl, and who do you have winning?
If healthy, the Chiefs.
Okay.
And the AFC. The NFC, I would.
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
There's a lot of teams.
A lot of good teams here, man. Shoot.
That's why if you think about it, like it's great that Tom Brady went to the NFC to change up the NFC side. Imagine they paid him to do that or something like the NFL.
Nope.
That'd be crazy.
It's tough, man. People could argue, like you said, KJ, the Seahawks, the 49ers, but, they could,
Maybe Tampa.
The Packers. I honestly don't know, man. It's too early for me to really say anything.
Just give me two names. Just off the top.
Seahawks. Yeah.
Seahawks?
I'll go the same as KJ.
Gotta go with the Seahawks.
All right.
Wait, who you have winning that? Who's taking it all the way?
The Chiefs.
Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yo, that's two.
I have Chiefs are going to be number 2 seed making the Super Bowl, okay?
What's their record? What do you predict their record will be?
Chiefs, I feel they're going to drop down a little bit. They're going to go 12-4 this year.
Okay.
I will say that I have the Chiefs making it to the Super Bowl. I have them going against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is going to enter as the 5 seed. I think Brady has one last good run in him, Super Bowl run. I think he's still going to play probably 2 more years, and I think he's going to play at a high level. But I think this is going to be his last like Super Bowl run, and I think he's a little more comfortable. He's a little bit more. He's no longer under like Bill Belichick's shadow, so he's going to be more of himself, more relaxed. Now, the expertise of Bill Belichick is not going to be there anymore, but he does have a great head coach in Bruce Arians. So I think that they're going to carry their partnership into the Super Bowl, and I have them losing to KC. I have KC repeating. I have the score 42 to, I would say 42 to 38. 42 to 38. That's
KC.
42-38 KC, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Close game.
Both Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes are going to throw for 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
Yeah.
You see, you saying that only proves how much of his legacy will lead on after this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how much Tom Brady means to the NFL and just everything that he's done and what he's accomplished as a player. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And in other words, as hard as it's gonna sound for me as a Jets fan, it just goes to show how good of a quarterback, if not the best to ever do it in his position.
Yeah.
He
Tom
is.
Brady.
Yeah. Goat.
Yeah, so
Go.
I mean, but and we have Pat Mahomes building his legacy as we speak right now. So we'll
He
see
might
how it
he
goes.
might be the GOAT as well.
Young king.
So guys, KJ, we got NBA news to cover. NBA playoffs are full effect. We already have one team in the Eastern Conference Finals now. You know,
yeah, that's right. Surprisingly, too, man.
Yeah, we have Miami
Fifth
Heat.
seed.
The Miami Heat. Butler leads the Miami Heat to the Eastern Conference Finals, winning a close game, Game 5, 103-94. Very close game. Great shooting. Great defensively on both sides. And Butler looked fatigued throughout the whole game, but it looks like, Hero.
He's a dog.
and
He's got
all the
dog
role
in him.
players.
He has dog in him. You have to pull him out on a stretcher to finish.
Who, Butler?
Yeah, he'll play all night, even if he's exhausted.
He
He's a
looked
hustler,
exhausted.
for
He
sure.
looked exhausted.
So now we have in a surprising defeat, Miami, beating Bucks in 5, without the Bucks without the help of Giannis.
Mm-hmm.
However, Giannis played the first 3 games and they lost. So it goes to show you, hey, things happen in the playoffs, and even more so in the era of coronavirus. So you have Miami hitting the first spot for the Eastern Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we have Boston versus Toronto.
Exactly.
Boston's up 3-2. They won the first 2 games, lost 2 games, and then won the third one. It's already a great series as we speak right now. Are they playing tonight?
They are playing tonight.
So by tonight we're gonna have an answer of we might have an answer of who the next spot in the Eastern Conference Finals.
We might have the matchup for the Eastern.
Yeah.
For the Eastern Conference.
So from what we know so far, who do you guys have winning the next Eastern Conference Final spot?
I see Boston facing Miami.
Same thing. I have Boston winning.
yeah.
Yeah, I
You
just
can't
think
go
that
wrong
they
with
just play so well as a team. I think they're just a more talented version of the Toronto Raptors.
But you know what I will say? Like, inexperience shows just,
Jaylen
watch-
Brown has been inconsistent.
Yeah,
That's how you show
you
playoff
can
inexperience.
see
Even though
that.
he's been in the playoffs the last 2 years, there's more Kobe and Tatum than there is in Jaylen Brown. But Jaylen Brown is a really nice player, though. Jaylen Brown is a really nice player. I just think they play well all together as a team, especially if you have Kemba playing very well. I think
playing exceptional.
Kemba is the X factor here because
He is.
everyone can play defense, everyone can pass, everyone can shoot. But I think when Kemba's playing well, that team follows his lead, kind of like Chris Paul. OKC follows Chris Paul's lead. So I think Kemba is going to be the determining factor in Game 6. I think that he's going to be the determining factor in Eastern Conference Finals. And I think it's going to be Miami versus Boston, and it's going to go to 7 games. I'm going to lean Boston just because I like Boston as a team, so I'm being biased. But I have that series easily going 7. It's going to be 3 games, Miami wins close ones, and then 3 games, Boston wins, I think 1 close game, and then they win 2 games decisively. And the 7th game is going to be a dog fight. There's going to be a dog fight. It's going to be
fight.
Jimmy Butler and against
Tatum.
Brad Stevens game planning, in Game 7. So I have Boston winning 7. I have Boston winning. I don't know, I'm jumping ahead, but I have Boston
Jump ahead.
winning tonight, and I have Boston winning in 7 against Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. How about you? What about you, Katie? Who do you have?
For me, what's crazy is I agree. I do think that Boston tonight will handle business, defeating the Toronto Raptors 4 games to 2. What was it? Yeah. So and I also do believe that they're gonna go head to head with Miami, going to Game 7. You just changed my mind. What's funny was I was gonna go towards Miami right before you said what you said, but you know what? Now I'm kind of leaning towards Boston. I think Tatum, they got Kemba Walker on that side, Jaylen Brown, Daniel Theis playing really well and exceptional for the team, great role player, and I'm taking Boston. in 7 games.
You can argue that Miami is a similar team to Boston. It's just that Boston has more experience, especially in the playoffs. So, we'll see how it goes. It's definitely gonna be if Boston wins. I think it's gonna be a very interesting Eastern Conference Finals. If Toronto comes back and win it, which is very likely, the defending champion, it could happen. Remember, they're only down 3-2. If Toronto wins, I just think that
done.
I think Miami wins in 6, but every game will be close. That's what I feel. On the Western Conference side, we have Denver versus.
Hold on, we didn't get his prediction.
Yeah, we did. He said Boston.
Oh, you said Boston? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
My brother might be smacked. That's why.
No, I literally didn't even hear it. Or wasn't paying attention, I guess.
So we have LA Clippers versus Denver.
Nuggets.
That series is tied right now.
Clippers are up 2-1.
2-1. Oh yeah, you're right.
Clippers up 2-1.
They won the last game. So we have the Clippers up 2-1.
And Paul George surprisingly coming through clutch in Game 3, assisting Kawhi and a domination against the Nuggets, during the late minutes of the game. George had 32 points. Kawhi had 23, 14 rebounds. If the Clippers do want to continue this and end up facing the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, Paul George is going to have to continue this, just continue what he's doing.
Yeah. Okay, so in the Western Conference Finals, we do have the Clippers versus Denver, right? I think at the end of the day, Clippers have more answers than Denver. Especially after that 7-game series against Utah. I think that just Denver doesn't have enough answers for a team like the Clippers and for somebody like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I give Denver a lot of credit. I think they're a really talented, extremely good team, but I just don't see them as a team as world beaters. I just see them as a very good team that you have to get through to get to the NBA Finals. So I have the Clippers winning. I have the Clippers winning in 6. I think Denver's going to pick up another game, but I think I have the Clippers winning in 6 against Denver.
They're definitely going to pick up another game.
Yeah. The thing is, unless Jamal Murray goes off, Denver doesn't really have the firepower to match up with the Clippers. And, both are very well-coached teams. I just think that at the end of the day, Clippers have more answers than Denver.
Don't sleep on Paul George.
Yeah. What about you?
I think the Clippers, I said this before and I say it now, Clippers, I have them to take it all. The Clippers, they're more of a well-rounded team. They have everything you need in a team. Besides that, their personality on the floor and as they are as a unit, they're kind of like this generation of bad boys. They're tough. They come in to bully you. They don't respect you. They're in your face. They're trash talking. And
you could just say that about Marcus Morris. That's just Marcus Morris as a person.
No, he's one of the main
reasons why they're like that. Yeah.
Exactly. But again, he has his cast around him. Yeah. It's him and Lou Williams, Patrick Beverly.
Yeah, Montrezl
Beverly. We forgot about Beverly.
They're even if they're in the bench, they're still gonna contribute just by talking smack on the bench, and this is what I like seeing with a team.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, being the flashiest, but as long as you play hardcore defense and you're a trash talker and you're a bully, then I see them taking on the Nuggets easily.
Definitely.
And don't count down when it comes down to the Western Conference. I don't think LeBron and his cast will have answers.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's talking about LeBron.
Oh God!
About LeBron.
You know what time
First,
it is?
hold on.
That's that time of the podcast where KD's gonna start.
Guys, listen. Hear me out, right? LeBron, one of the best players in the NBA. Let's talk about last night's game.
Wait, who are you talking about? LeBron James.
Let's talk about last night's game, right? Lakers versus the Rockets. Lakers take the lead 2-1. LeBron played exceptional, scoring 36 points. Anthony Davis assisting him as well with 26 points, 15 rebounds. Rondo. You believe how well Rondo was playing?
Yeah, Rondo
3 points.
Yeah, Rondo came through clutch in the fourth
21
quarter.
points, 9 assists, shot 3 of 5 from beyond the arc.
Had a couple of steals. A couple of steals too, I think. Right?
Big steals, big plays, big turnovers.
Caruso also stepped up to the plate too.
Yeah.
He did.
Caruso is a really good player. Like, not a great like superstar, but he's just a really good player.
He could ball.
Yeah, he could ball.
Well,
He
if
could
he
ball.
was out here in the courts in New York, he would cook everybody here.
Yeah, he
he
would
would
destroy
body
everyone.
everybody here.
He has the face of a 16-year-old and
the head of
the head of an 80-year-old.
He's a mini unicorn in a way, you know.
Nah,
Yeah.
he is.
You don't expect that from a player like
Yeah.
him.
You think like he's one of those guys that you go like you play in Brooklyn and he's like this tall white boy and you're like, oh yeah, you know he's probably good, and then you're like, oh shit, no, he's nice. This boy is nice, bro.
If he could just slam and dunk it like that,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, but yeah, so okay, we all in agreement that the Clippers are moving on to the.
Yeah.
to Western Conference Finals.
And beating the Lakers.
So now get to the Lakers.
Hold on. So who do you guys got?
mean,
Lakers
Lakers,
versus the
Houston.
Rockets.
I have Lakers just because they're just mentally more tougher
Because
than the
LeBron
Rockets.
is
Lakers?
the
Let's
best
be
player.
real. No, LeBron
is playing like the best player.
LeBron is the best player, but
Okay.
let's also be real. AD is so important
Oh
to
man,
that
AD
squad.
is without AD,
Without AD,
LeBron is
you
nothing
have
this-
last
this
year's
year.
Lakers.
terrible,
Not good.
not good.
Now, without LeBron, you also have last year's
Pelicans.
Pelicans.
Yeah, exactly. They need
Which
each
is also
other.
not good. So they're equally as important to that team. LeBron James is clearly the best player on the court, even amongst former MVPs like Harden and Westbrook. So it goes to show you now how well he's playing. I just think that just the demeanor of the Houston Rockets. I think also with the demeanor of just like James Harden as a leader. You can't really argue there's like that dog in him. Like LeBron used to have questions about that dog in him, but I think he answered all those questions. And yeah, sometimes he has those issues in clutch. That time he was bailed out by Kyrie in the 2016 NBA Finals. You can argue without Kyrie.
So hold on, somebody has to make a shot.
Kyrie-
LeBron can't make every fucking play.
Okay, let's be real.
He can't play 46 minutes.
LeBron
and
was
play
the
it.
best player on the court.
Give him his
for
credit.
for the majority of the time, but the best player in the clutch was Kyrie by far in that series, by far.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah. So I mean,
But he did make a lot of clutch plays. Played hard. During those clutch plays.
he also didn't want to shoot, and he didn't even want the ball those last 2 minutes
tends to
of that game 7. Though
He tends to
LeBron,
shy
he didn't
away
want-
more
yeah.
of the ball.
He was
more
like,
from the ball.
Kyrie, take the ball. I don't want this. But okay,
Somebody gotta
listen,
shoot.
He's still the best player. He's still the best player on the court in this series. I have the Lakers win. I wouldn't be surprised if Lakers win in 5. Would not be surprised. But Lakers in 6 is the most likely outcome. I would say Lakers in 6. Like my prediction, Lakers in 5 would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if James Harden just packs it up after this game.
No, I'm telling you, they've shown a lot of fight, but I feel like you're not giving enough credit to the Lakers defense as well.
Yeah, I mean, AD really makes things very difficult for them on the inside whenever they try to drive. Although
It's LeBron.
well, I mean, LeBron. No, it's AD on defense that really is like the anchor on that team defensively. So, but I mean, listen. At the end of the day, I have the Lakers in 6. What about you guys?
Clippers 6.
No, but against the
I mean,
Rockets.
we're not
I'm
against the
sorry.
Rockets.
The Lakers, they got this. Yeah.
Okay,
better
and
have
look,
it.
after yesterday's performance, one of the biggest factors that I saw lacking, which we all know from the Rockets, they don't have a big man to stop that backcourt.
Yeah, they're playing really small anyway. So
Yeah. There was times in the third quarter where I saw Joel McGee just score easy layups,
Yeah.
and the reason why is they don't have anybody that tall
I
enough
think
to
PJ
really.
Tucker is
Their
their
center.
Yeah, but even yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, he left the court injured because he got an elbow to the face.
Oh no, that was
Covington.
oh, sorry,
Robert
sorry,
Covington.
yeah.
Covington. Yeah, that was Covington.
But
Who's also the outside threat as well for Houston. They
Yeah.
might not have. I don't know. Did he break his nose or? We
I-
gotta look that up. Let's see if he's out for.
yeah,
the next game.
but the point is they're missing a piece.
All right. Well, let's bring it down to this, guys. We already know who we have as our predictions for the conference finals. I don't want to know who's the champion. I want to know who makes the NBA finals. Quick. I don't want to hear any
Boston Clippers.
Boston Clippers. Same.
I got. See, now I'm gonna change it up right now. I got Miami versus the Lakers.
Miami versus Lake. That would be.
That's what I want to see.
That would be great for like drama. LeBron going against his former team.
Oh,
You know,
Oh.
Jimmy Butler.
he's cooking Butler.
I would
Let's
love.
go.
Imagine Jimmy Butler against LeBron. Like he's gonna want to go off. And Jimmy Butler's
It's
a
not
great
gonna
team
happen
player.
though.
We'll see where it goes. I'm not saying who's gonna be NBA champions. I just want to know. Okay, so now you have.
I have the Lakers
versus
I have the Lakers versus Miami. Because
No, we don't. We just want to hear
all right,
who's
Lakers
in. We
versus
don't want.
Miami.
We don't want to hear who wins. We just want to know.
Cool.
Me and Raul.
Lakers versus Miami.
Me and Raul have Clippers versus Boston, right? Okay, good. That's what we have. Hey, that covers our NBA portion of our podcast. I think there was a little bit of news that you wanted to get to in regards to Messi, correct?
Yeah,
Before we went to our
yeah,
Masputa and Goats of the Week.
Yeah, I just wanted to give some closure on that whole drama with Messi and Barcelona. It looks like Messi is going to commit to 1 year with Barcelona. And mainly the reason why is because the release cost for Messi was ridiculous. And this is $823 million as the cost, which nobody in the world.
No.
You could be the highest, richest soccer club. You're not going to have enough money to pay for that on top of his salary and his contract. No way. So it just makes sense for him to stay for 1 year, commit to them, and just bounce. Either that or he will eventually go to court, which you don't want to end terms that way.
Yeah.
So Messi and his first childhood club and him having so much success being tainted by him going to court because he wants to leave. It's just not a good ending to that story. But yeah, fuck it, let him end his one career in Barcelona and just leave, make his money, and yeah, that's a closure to that. But soccer's still going on. There's Nationals League for Europe, and this month, if I'm not mistaken, there's league, there's English Premier Leagues, all the country leagues are starting off, so we're looking forward to that.
All right. It seems like sports is coming back in full swing now. We got
Hell
NFL, soccer, NBA finals, MLB, the rest of the season plus playoffs. So it's going to be pretty exciting for this fall. Especially considering like what we've had to deal with the coronavirus.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be busy, but for the most part, I feel like fall usually brings that
Yeah.
sensation.
It's always that feeling in
Yeah.
fall when it comes by. Guys, it's that time. Our Mas Puta list. Oh, I'm sorry, let me say that the right way.
That was pretty good.
Mas puta.
Our Mas Puta list and our Ghosts of the Week, guys. We're going to start with our Mas Puta list, okay? Who do you have as your Mas Puta?
Well, earlier to our conversation, my Mas puta will have to be Jamel Herring. For his performance, I get, he got a huge back cut in his eyebrow towards his eye. He couldn't see, et cetera,
Yeah. But just the way he fought the fight. Not
Yeah,
the way it
even
ended.
before that, to what Timothy Bradley had to say, I wanted to see more uppercuts, shake off the pressure that Oquendo was coming in with, fight a little bit more in the inside, because again, this is your tune-up fight in a way for Carl Frampton. So what do you think Carl Frampton is going to do to Jamel Herring? And this is what he was mentioning, like what are you going to do? Like, show us right now what you're going to do when the kitchen gets hot, when the fire is there, So this is what great champions do. And who better to say this than Timothy Bradley? He's been there with the best. I think the best one that I could say that, wow, he pulled that off was against Russian Rocky,
Oh, yeah, Ruslan Provannikov.
Yeah, and he was getting rocked, and he managed to come out of that and win the fight.
He was concussed.
Yeah.
That fight. This actually, he said that fight didn't end his career, but he knew like, oh yeah, I don't have that many.
Yeah, and he had to change up his style, and we saw this.
Yeah.
He definitely changed up his style, more of a boxer, in and out. He was more like at a distance. Prior to that fight, he was more of a brawler.
Yeah.
He was in there with the Manny Pacquiao's.
Yeah.
With him, but
when he fought Provannikov, he fought like that was a super dangerous fight. And then he changed up his style against Marquez. I think So I mean, it shows a lot. Like, I mean, Timothy Bradley. Like, a lot of people talk a lot of shit about Timothy Bradley, but if you know boxing, he's probably one of the most best conditioned fighters of all time in boxing, and never back down from a fight. A lot of people have criticize him a lot, but honestly, it's not warranted. He's a future Hall of Famer. Do I agree with his assessment of Herring? He had to scratch right now. Listen. I'm not gonna blame Jamel Herring for the way the fight ended. I will blame him for how the fight turned out the way it did. That he just looked he didn't look sharp at all.
And look, there's two things. One, you're coming into fight, whether it's a boxing style of a fight or brawler, or you're gonna brawl inside. You gotta adapt.
Yeah.
The faster you adapt, the faster you're gonna earn points.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect her, especially after his comments after the fight. Hey, look, guys, I'm not gonna be celebrating this fight. I'm not happy about it, but we're on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And if the on to the next is Carl Frampton, I don't see him winning that fight. But this is why he's on my list of the Masputa, but hope for the best.
Yeah, I really like Jamel Herring, and I wish him the best, but he didn't look good in this last fight. And would I favor him against Frampton? Probably not. But I like Herring, and I wish him the best. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
One of the true genuine people in boxing. So let's see how it goes for him. My Masputa is Coach Mike Budenholzer of the Milwaukee Bucks. I have him on my Masputa list because he is a fantastic coach. First of all, he transformed that Atlanta team, the Atlanta Hawks, when he was there, and they became, they maybe not like favorites to win to win the championship, but certainly raised their game to get to become a playoff team at the time. And now he's doing that with Milwaukee, and Milwaukee has played fantastic the last 2 years in the regular season, but again, the same issues that plague Mike Budenholzer with the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs seems to also be happening with the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee lost in 5. The number 1 seed lost in 5. And yeah, all the complications with coronavirus, playing in the bubble, things have not been a traditional season. I understand. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know I messed that up. Antetokounmpo, right?
I just call him the Greek freak.
Greek freak, right? You have the Greek freak, and you lose the first 3 games with him healthy, and there seems to be a lack of flexibility with Coach Mike Budenholzer and how he sets up his team during the playoffs. It seems like he's very rigid in his ways, and it seems like he has a hard time adapting or making adjustments as the game goes on. I'm not gonna say he's a bad coach, not at all. I'm not saying that he's on my Masputa because he did something really bad. I just think that his inability to get over that hump in the playoffs and prove himself to be an elite coach. He's a really good coach. Elite coach that level is lacking because he just can't bring his teams over the top in the playoffs, especially after the way that they lost against Miami, losing in 5 and losing the first 3 games, in a row. It shows that there has to be some type of flexibility in how you coach. The playoffs are a different animal, and it just seems like, Mike Budenholzer can't adjust when the playoffs come. I'm saying this as somebody who's never coached, and, I may be criticizing him, but as a fan and, as an analyst, I would say, hey, you are lacking these things that prevent your team from going over the top. So my Masputa of the week is Coach Mike Budenholzer. Great coach. Definitely proving not to be an elite coach, though, right now. I think he still has the ability to and chances to do it, but with uncertainty under Giannis staying with Milwaukee, we don't know what's going to happen. So, Mike Budenholzer on my Masputa list. What about you, KJ?
Yeah, to piggyback on, your Masputa, My Masputa of the week is the whole Milwaukee Bucks, I guess, organization. Like you said, because of their top seeding, number one of the league, the best record in the league, and you can't make it past, the divisionals.
I think the Miami was number 5 seed, I believe.
Number
right?
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're number 1 that lost against the number 5 seed.
And you can't make it past,
Yeah.
And everyone, believe, they were going to be the team to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. But
a lot of people were making the point that this series was very clear that the Bucks missed Malcolm Brogdon. They essentially chose Eric Bledsoe over Malcolm Brogdon.
That was a fail.
And I think Eric Bledsoe is a really good point guard. Do I think he's great? No, but he's a really good point guard.
He's not better than Brogdon.
But they definitely missed Brogdon's presence, So, I mean, you can argue that the downfall could have started last year. Even though they're number 1 seed this year, they definitely missed his outside shooting, that's for sure. And his ability
100%.
to create his own shot. When Giannis has a hard time getting on the inside and dominating, then their offense kind of sputters. They don't know what to do, and that's what happened in the playoffs. They didn't look great against who did they play first? Orlando, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Orlando had some success against them. So I mean, it is what it is. So your Masputa is the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yep, the Milwaukee Bucks organization. I can't disagree with that.
Well, if they lose Giannis, they'll definitely be on the Masputa list. If we find out Giannis either doesn't plan to resign or gets traded,
I hope he goes to another team.
Yeah,
I definitely hope he goes to another team.
Yeah, that conversation is definitely worth a big amount of the conversation between us three because it's a lot to cover. Yeah. Pretty interesting too.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do a breakdown of the Giannis situation in the next episode.
Yeah, because I feel like we all have a lot.
It's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and we're eager. I think that's somebody of his magnitude, his superstar. We want to see him.
Another team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go to the week, guys.
Go to the week, guys. Go to the week.
Get it.
All right.
You got knocked up. No, I'm kidding.
All right, guys. We're going to start off other way around. KJ, who do you have as your goat of the week?
All right, guys. My goat of the week, as I hear you guys doing what you do, is going to be LeBron, of course, again. And
my brother,
if you're a real NBA fan, you can't disagree with me on this.
My brother's getting half a
because
chub right now.
LeBron wins his 162nd playoff game of his career in the 17 seasons that he's played.
All-time leader.
All-time leader of the playoffs and still counting because,
all-time leader in wins.
In wins, yeah, in wins. Still counting because, he has the series, the whole finals to win. But, yeah,
wow.
My Masputa,
so that's
man.
your GOAT.
What an incredible, I'm sorry, my GOAT of the week. Wow, I'm messed up over here. Just an incredible accolade for LeBron to receive. And I'm proud of him, man.
Raul, aren't you surprised? Are you surprised? I'm so surprised.
I'm surprised he didn't give him a shout out.
LeBron, what up?
All right. My goat of the week, I have Deshaun Watson. The man got paid, and he deserves it. I really like Deshaun Watson. I've liked him since his Clemson days. Seems to be one of the real good people in the NFL. He stays out of trouble. Family guy. He had humble beginnings. Always he has that story that Warwick Dunn, formerly of the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Bucks, he had when he was in his playing career, he had a program that developed affordable housing for single moms, and Deshaun Watson, his family was one of the recipients of that one of the houses that Warwick Dunn's program was created. So everyone loved him at Clemson, natural leader, won a national championship, almost won 2 national championships because that first one that he lost against Alabama, it was the only reason why they didn't win was because he didn't have the ball in his hands at the end. And then he won again another one the year after that against Alabama.
What team did he play for again? Clemson. Right?
Clemson, yeah. So my goat of the week is Deshaun Watson. Probably the only good thing going for Houston right now, and the only thing that Bill O'Brien has not fucked up yet in Houston. And the man is getting paid. Wait, I gotta look it up again. How much he's getting paid? Let's look this up. Deshaun Watson, newly extended Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson is getting paid $160 million for 4 years extended on his contract.
And how much is that per year?
$40 million a year.
Wow.
So my go to the week goes to Deshaun Watson.
Getting paid.
Good guy. Great football player.
Whoa.
And the leader, a true leader and leader of the Houston Texans. And, that man is getting paid. So good for him. My go to the week. Cash up. Go eventually win the championship. I know you can. He's definitely a great player. One of my favorite players in the NFL. Raul, who's your go to the week? End it off strong, boy.
Yeah, man. So my go to the week will have to go to Andre Ware. Even though he lost his fight to Steven Nelson by TKO, I believe in the 9th round, he did something great, more than great. This was
life-saving.
Yeah, life-saving great. This happened throughout the weigh-in. After the weigh-in, it looks like one of the executives from Top Rank, he was developing symptoms of a stroke. No, I'm sorry, cardiac arrest. As soon as that began, he stepped in. He performed CPR on him. Other than that, he stayed. Once the paramedic came in, he stepped in big time, helped him out. His quote here, he tweeted, "I'm here for my fight, but I had to put my EMS skills to work and do some CPR. I'm happy to say that the guy was talking a bit, was alert, headed to the hospital. I'm thankful I feel I saved a life." Which he did, His background is he's from Toledo, Ohio. He worked as an EMS firefighter, and you don't really get to see that in boxing. A lot of boxers, they tend to specifically focus on boxing. Yes, there's a lot of fighters with a lot of side careers. We hear that with Joe Smith, being a construction worker, especially with Jamal Herron. He was a Marine. He served. So it's good to hear that boxers have some sort of careers and backgrounds. And luckily for their Andre Ware, he so happened to know all these procedures from his background, and he really did step up.
Saved the life.
He saved the life, yeah.
Nice.
And he's definitely my go to the week because of that.
Shout out to DeAndre Ware being a true go to the week, saving a life during his weigh-in, and actually really making a difference in that particular person's life. So, guys, we just wrapped up episode number 7.
7.
What up? What up?
Yes, sir.
We just want to say thank you for listening, guys. And, hey, we are exploring new platforms for our podcast. Hopefully we'll be up on them soon. We will be uploading. We will be uploading next day from now on. We took a little slight hiatus from uploading our videos, but now we'll be uploading next day from now on. And we're gonna try our best to bring you content up to date as fast as possible with our own insight and opinions and analysis on the topics that we covered. We appreciate all the support, everybody who subscribed, everybody who's liked, everybody who's listened. Means a lot to us. And yeah, thank you so much. Hey, Honey Bunch of Podcasts, we out.
What is Honey Bunches of Goats podcast on YouTube?
Oh shit!
Episode
we're gonna
1
leave
through
that,
5.
We're gonna
We're
leave
gonna edit
that fuck up in me being all sincere. Anyways, Honey Bunch of Goats
Podcast.
podcast.
Let's go.
We out.
Turn us up.
Later, guys.
Blah blah blah
Deuces.
blah blah.
Later.